Well, during many of the past electoral seasons, I pulled out Parker Palmer's Healing the Heart of Democracy to read the passage that you heard this morning. And in particular, I focus on these words: looking at politics through the eye of the heart can liberate us from seeing it as a chess game of moves and counter-moves, or a shell game for seizing power, or a blame game of whack-a-mole. Rightly understood, politics is no game at all. It is the ancient and honorable endeavor of creating a community in which the weak as well as the strong can flourish, and so too can love, and where power can collaborate and justice and mercy have their day. We, the people, must build a political life rooted in the commonwealth of compassion and creativity that is still found among us, becoming a civic community sufficiently united to know our own will and hold those who govern accountable to it. With these words, I feel hope, and I feel affirmed that we can have a heart-centered democratic process. But I struggle with the changes going on in various governmental bodies these days. Wednesday night, a few of us went to the from UU Miami, went to the Miami-Dade School Board meeting again, because being part of a democratic process means you keep showing up as an active participant. And as we drove over to the school board building, Carol Klopper said to me that she didn't remember the school board ever being this political. And Martha agreed. Martha Harrison was there as well, and she agreed. If anything, the school board was boring, fairly perfunctory, doing the work that needed to be done to run the school board effectively. During this particular meeting, I and others continued to speak about the school board's upsetting vote against setting aside October as LGBTQ History Month. And LGBTQ History Month. And even though the vote was a done deal, many of us wanted our voices to be heard. Last month's meeting of the board, when the vote was taken, was overrun with boisterous, conspiracy-driven, homophobic rants. This time, when I got up, I started with voicing empathy for the board. I shared that I too felt some fear last month. Then I asked them, when the same issue comes up again next year, not to base their vote on shouting voices or fear, but to be guided in what is best for the youth and children, and to do their homework this current school year. Monitor the bullying, prejudicial speech, or hate crimes in our schools that may follow in the wake of the vote from last month. Other voices were there. Many told the board they were going to hold them accountable for last month's decision. Many of the speakers educated us on LGBTQ history. We learned about, or we heard about, the first openly gay person in our nation to be elected to public office, Harvey Milk. We heard about the brilliant work of World War II codebreaker Alan Turing. And we heard about Anita Bryant and her fight to oppose the rights of the LGBTQ community in Miami. At the end of the night, at the end of these comments, the board thanked the speakers. They thanked them for being civil and calm. I was proud of us because we did not quit after last month's meeting. Being part of a democratic process means that we keep showing up as an active participant. I was on a call yesterday with some of the folks from the LGBT community, and we talked about continuing to be a voice every month in front of the school board. Last Wednesday night, we, the people, decided that we would use compassion and common sense to hold those in the government accountable, and we believe that the government listened, those who govern listen. Will we see the fruits of our labor next year? Well, we certainly laid down the seeds of a better crop, and we will keep coming back to tend them. I want to take you back for a moment to an experience I had. I feel like it's important for us to recognize the experiences we have in how we deal with divisiveness, controversy in this political climate. About 6 years ago, I was serving as the minister of the DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church. And we rented the building to a group called Friends Who March. That's their logo there. They were a group formed from a group of people who went to the Women's March in Chicago. They wanted to hold an activist expo, marketing all the different activist organizations, and the church had a table as well for our program for disadvantaged and discriminated youth. There were 41 tables. Planned Parenthood, Handmaidens, PFLAG, Indivisible, Moms Who Demand Action, the Environmental Defense Fund, the Bisexual and Queer Alliance, all were there. We started at 1 o'clock. It was great, sharing with each other, getting to learn what each other is doing, seeing faces and names of people that we made connections to, and supporting each other, finding ways that we could, collaborate and support one another. After a while, the leader of Friends Who March came up to me and said, "There are people disrupting the event." And they wouldn't leave. And I guess she thought, I'm the minister, I should be able to do something. And so I went and talked to this person. And they said, "I'm an activist. I shouldn't have to leave. I'm advocating for life. I won't let babies be killed." By the last part of his statement, he was yelling at me. In a calm but assertive voice, I just said, you need to leave. If you don't leave, I'm going to call the police. His wife started yelling at me that she's pregnant and that we were going to kill her baby, and I was helping to kill babies, and I just kept saying, you need to leave. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. And so I walked them out of the building. I'd hoped it would end with that. They sat in their car. I guess they called some of their friends, and their friends came back, and they all lined up with these really, I don't know if you've seen them, really graphic, unpleasant posters. I called the police. Police set up a perimeter, but they said there's nothing you can really do. As long as they stand on public property, they can have the freedom of free speech that everybody does. So there were a few people that came to the expo, and they harassed anybody who did. And at the end of the event, we were escorting people back out to their cars as we ended. I tell you this because it taught me to remain calm. There's me being calm. in divisive and hostile situations. And if we don't need to do that, I don't know what we need to do in our democratic process right now. I've learned that you have to project calmness. Even though inside you might feel scared and angry, sometimes really scared and angry. In that situation, for instance, my emotions did rise up within me. And when that happens, even though I project a calm exterior, I know that that's happening because my back begins to spasm. I don't know if you have some kind of a physical, I do. I have a physical reaction when things get to be a little too intense. So I guess I tell you this again because standing up for your values and our Unitarian Universalist principles can be challenging, can sometimes feel dangerous. And right now we're called on to stand up for our democratic process in this divided country. When I'm in that state of extreme feeling, I've come to trust some prophetic wisdom to help ground me in the work of the world. And I've also come to trust some pastoral wisdom to ground me so I don't end up physically or emotionally incapacitated. One of the quotes I turn to that's prophetic, that really helps me to do the work that I do, is a quote written by Martin Niemöller. And I have a copy of it in my office. If you haven't heard it before, it speaks to me. First they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out, because I was not a Jew. Then they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I was not a trade unionist, and so I did not speak out. Because I wasn't a trade unionist. But then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Niemöller was a German anti-Nazi theologian and Lutheran pastor, and he became famous for this quote. This quote gives me strength to do the work of justice. And I think we need it in times like these. His words of wisdom give me courage to speak truth to power. Keeping this quote in my office, I can see it regularly. And it helps me manage my anger and my fear. If I don't speak out, if I don't use my power, my personal power, and my voice, one marginalized group after another, one person after another will be trampled on without repercussions. And I just can't stand for that. And so I ask you for a moment, what words or wisdom give you strength and courage to speak truth to power when you need to? After the service, when we're all sitting around for lunch, I hope some of you will share those with me and share them with each other, for we all need those in these times. And we also need pastoral wisdom. For pastoral wisdom, I often turn to the Buddha. For instance, the Tibetan meditation we did today is one I've often used to ground myself in the pastoral. This style of meditation includes holding intentions in my heart and mind while I meditate. Positive and healing intentions held within with loving kindness. Removing what suffering I can from myself or from others, offering the intention of happiness and joy and comfort and peace for myself and for those in the world, even those who might be peddling hate or lies or conspiracy. It helps ground me, calm me, fill me with loving kindness, and perhaps, most importantly, empathy. Empathy for all. And I ask you again, what pastoral wisdom grounds you these days as you do the work of the world, as you affirm and promote the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within this congregation and in society at large? What helps you cope with the risks you take to do the work of the world? What calms you and centers you as you experience perhaps pain or vulnerability or discomfort that will undoubtedly arise in our divided world? I want to share a blessing with you as I end today. It was written by Nancy C. Wood in 1974, and it's another reading that I turn to in times like these. It reminds me of what I've said to you this morning. Hold on to what is good, even if it is just a handful of earth. Hold on to what you believe, even if it's a tree which stands by itself. Hold on to what you must do, even if it is a long way from here. Hold on to life, even when it is easier to let go. Hold on to my hand, even when I have gone away from you. My friends, when I am out there doing the work, I feel your hand in mine. When I embody justice, the work of justice and equity, when I am trying to heal the heart of democracy, I feel your hand in mine. As you go out into the world, may you feel my hand and yours as you do the same. Namaste.